In this video, we're going to talk about the standard deviation, in particular, the sample standard deviation. Let's say you took some data from students, you took data from 9 students, ask them how much money they had in their pocket, and this is the data. You found that the average was 10. Let's put this information into our formula and then find the sample standard deviation. And I'll probably just call it the standard deviation, which is represented with the letter S. So what I like to do is I like to put the information in a column. It's easier to do the math. And so the first column, we put the values of the data. If there are any repeatable values, you got to make sure you write them out. Then the next thing is I want to subtract the mean from each data point. Why do we do that? Because our formula tells us to do that. Okay, so 1 take away 10 is going to give you -9. Make sure you know how to subtract numbers and add them, of course. It's very important, making sure you have the right sign. Next one, 3 take away 10 is -7. 5 take away 10 is -5. So you can see that I'm listing out all the numbers. 8 take away 10, -2. Again, where do we get the 8? From the data set. Where do we get the 10? The 10 is the average. Where do we get the takeaway? From the formula, which is right here. And then we can continue on. 10 take away 10 is 0. 12 take away 10 is 2. 15 take away 10 is 5. 17 take away 10 is 7. 19 take away 10 is 9. Again, one of the great things about YouTube is that you can always pause and then continue along the way. All right, the next column is going to be x take away x squared quantity squared. We're going to take these values that we got and we're going to square them. How come? Because the formula tells us. See that? It tells us to square. Okay, so we're going to take -9 and we're going to square that, and it gives you 81. If you're using something like a TI-81 or an algebraic calculator, what's going to happen, you got to be very careful. If you type in -9, and this negative is not the subtraction button. It's the one that's plus or minus, or the one that has parentheses minus, or something like this. Anyway, the thing is, if you're going to do this math, and you use the square button or the caret key, and you put 2, or in this case, you put 2 over here. Here, this answer will give you -81. This answer will give you also -81. The thing is, this negative this is true in the algebraic sense, but in this case, what we need to do is we got to make sure that we put parentheses on our data to get the correct answer. Okay, because what we're really doing is taking -9 times -9, and that gives you 81. And you can see now why we put the parentheses. Okay, that's a lot of talk for a number, but it's very important because none of the numbers that you'll see here are negative. Okay, and so -5 squared is 25, -2 squared is 4, 0 squared is 0, 2 squared is 4, and so forth. Okay, and again, if this is going a little too fast, no problem, just pause. Then, next thing we want to do is we want to look at the sums. We look at the sums for every column to double check our work. When we sum this, we get 90, right? And we have 10 of them. 90 divided by, 9 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry about that. There's 9 of them. So 90 divided by 9 gives you 10, which is the average. So that checks correctly. Then this column here should be very close to 0. And that's because all these points represent our balance point, which is the mean. All these distances, these are really distances from the mean, and when we add up those distances, it should be 0. Okay, and then we're going to add these, find the sum, and that's going to give you 318. Now, why do we add those? Well, because our formula tells us to. It says take the sum of the squared items, and that's 318. Okay, so you pop 318 divided by n minus 1. What's n? 9, not 10. 9. There's 9 data points. And again, if there was another 8 or another 10, you would count those. Okay, you would add them to this list. All right, so 9 take away 1 is 8. 318 divided by 8 is 39.75. Do not forget the square root. And the answer is 6.30. Now, there is a lot of steps here. And yes, there are other ways where some teachers will tell you as is equal to, do the math. 1 minus 10 squared plus so forth, and then take the square root of that divided by 9 minus 1, and then you get the answer. And it's a very long, tedious formula, which you might not get the right steps. Here, you work in columns, you do it piece by piece, step by step.